The Silent Hill 2 remake has had a very rough start to say the least, with the reveal trailer being a total disaster for fans. The quality shown in the gameplay had a lot of people worried, from the janky animations, the character models, and the guns sounding as if they had a suppressor on them. Fans were understandably upset, seeing their beloved game being tarnished into some cheap Resident Evil ripoff. But as we got more info about the game and the decisions that were made at both Konami and Bloober Team, we started to see the whole picture, and how this remake could strike a perfect balance between old and new. Which is why we're gonna look at everything we know about the remake and bring it all together to find out if it stays faithful to the original while also adding new elements to enhance the game. So with that said, make sure to stab the bell icon so you don't miss out on future videos like this one, and let's get right into the development of Silent Hill 2. So the first actual footage we ever got of the game was from a teaser trailer back on October 19th of 2022. It did a really good job at showing fans what to expect in this remake, with it seeming faithful to the story and the overall atmosphere of the game. In the trailer, members from the original game Akira Yamaoka and Masahiro Ito are highlighted, coming back to produce the music and creature designs for this remake, which is a huge deal given they were a big part of what made Silent Hill 2 unique. However, there were some worries. The animation felt clunky and unfinished, the lighting at times felt off, and the designs of James didn't feel fitting for some. Not only that, but the studio developing this remake is Bloober Team, a game development studio known for crafting psychological horror games. They've been making games for around 15 years with Blair Witch, Observer, Medium, and the Layers of Fear franchise under their belt. A lot of these games are mostly decent, nothing crazy, but people were very worried about this team being put on development. People felt they'd ruin the nuances of the story and alter it too much, ruining the symbolism and deeper meanings within the game. Not only that, but Bloober Team hasn't really worked on a game like this before, and are mostly known for their atmosphere and puzzles, not necessarily for their stellar storytelling and combat. Personally, after seeing this trailer, I was very worried about the combat in this game. It feels very shallow and lifeless. And people's worries only grew worse, with the combat trailer revealed during Sony's State of Play in January 31st of 2024. This is by far the most tone-deaf trailer I've seen for a game in quite a while. Well, besides Concord, but that's a different story. See, the thing is, Silent Hill 2 is a game that focuses on atmosphere and brilliant storytelling, with the action being secondary. But in this trailer, it's portraying a different idea, coming off as action first and atmosphere and storytelling being second. Of course, people were not happy with this decision, and the game felt like it was going to be a huge fail before it even launches. The animation was very rough, there were immersion-breaking QuickTime events, the gun sounds were not good, and just the whole idea of having an action-based trailer for a game that's supposed to be all about atmosphere and story is a huge red flag. It was so bad people were actually glad they weren't given a release date in hopes of giving the studio more time to fix the game. Interestingly though, in an interview with the CEO of Bloober Team, he states he understands the criticisms that fell on the Silent Hill 2 remake trailer presented during the State of Play. In his opinion, the material prepared by the publisher Konami does not reflect the spirit of the game. It's not the spirit of what was before, nor of what we're creating now. It also mentions in an interview with the InWester.tv channel, Bambino jokingly says, "Seriously, it's not who us are responsible for the marketing side. Our partner Konami is entirely responsible for that. This trailer certainly does not reflect the spirit of the game." Now, this is very eye-opening because it means that the combat trailer does not represent the feel of the game, and somewhere down the line, Konami either are trying to cater towards Resident Evil fans or had some miscommunications with Bloober Team. It's important to note that this is a huge deal because this means the remake will be in the spirit of the original. And of course, this interview doesn't fix everything. Later on May 30th, 2024, the release date trailer was revealed. And there was some mixed feelings to say the least, especially for Angela.
I'm not lying.
Overall, this trailer is a lot better, but the main things fans took from this was the way Angela looks and sounds in this trailer. A lot of people feel that the design for Angela doesn't look anything like the original and that the voice acting feels a bit off and could be better. Other than that, the combat and animation showed a lot of improvement, and a good mix of both atmosphere, storytelling, and combat, and was an overall step in the right direction. Now, after this trailer, there was an interview with the producer Okamoto on June 6th of 2024. This interview is pretty important because Motoi Okamoto joined Konami in 2019 and aims to revive the entire Silent Hill series. And in this interview, we get a glimpse to what's been going on during the development of the Silent Hill 2 remake. Okamoto first talks about how Bloober Team and the original members of Silent Hill 2 clashed in opinions, not wanting to just go over the work they've already done and instead make changes. Bloober Team, on the other hand, loved the original and felt it was way better to not break what isn't broken. After this, Okamoto talks about Bloober Team and their experience in psychological horror, and their lack of experience in regarding to the battle sections, which I've mentioned before. But even with these concerns, Okamoto believes that with Bloober Team's passion, they will overcome the challenges, so he decided to entrust them with the remake. Overall, this is definitely something to be a bit worried about when the producer of the franchise knows they lack an experience in making a game with action elements. And it's a little more concerning when Okamoto mentions that the remake version has more battle elements, making it enjoyable as an action game, saying, "I think that's the point that will attract new fans of the series." Again, Silent Hill 2 isn't supposed to be an action game. It's supposed to be a psychological game, and the fact that the producer is emphasizing this so much is worrying. He does thankfully acknowledge the criticisms with the combat trailer and how fans felt it was too much of an action game. He goes on saying, "We wanted to appeal to the fans that you can enjoy the action, but it was a little too intense and the enemy movements made it look more like an action game." As you can see here, there's different motives going on with Konami and Bloober Team and what they both want the game to be. Bloober Team wants this game to be very close to the original with some added elements to make it modern, whereas Konami wants it to be like the newer Resident Evil games with an over-the-shoulder third-person perspective and combat to suit. Overall, this is a problem when two companies can't align and understand each other. It creates a lot of problems down the road, especially if they continue to work together. Now, thankfully, later in August 19th, 2024, there was an interview with lead producer Maciej Glom and creative director Mateusz Lennart at Bloober Team. In this interview, you get a really good understanding of what this remake will look like. Maciej made it clear that the story is not being altered, however, the gameplay needed a fresh approach, saying it's about finding the right balance, which is why we decided early on to divide the story away from the gameplay. We want to keep the story true to the original, but update the gameplay to be modern and meet current expectations. Overall, it's pretty good news, but it makes me wonder what the people at Bloober Team mean when updating the gameplay to be modern and meet current expectations. I just hope they keep the mechanics that make Silent Hill 2 special. Which leads to the other conversations they had about the new third-person camera, with Maciej saying compensating for new third-person camera introduced a lot of changes that needed to be addressed for level design. The interviewer goes on saying this meant the developers needed to find creative ways to hide enemies in the environment, using light, darkness, objects, and of course the fog to keep players on edge, fearing what's around the next corner, something that was a natural concept for the fixed camera of the original game, and the likes of classic Resident Evil. Now, I personally have a problem with this because the fixed camera angles is what gave Silent Hill 2 and other classic games like Resident Evil character. When you're walking through the woods at the beginning of the game, the camera changes to a fixed perspective, making you feel watched. The fact that they don't talk much about the importance of fixed camera angles in this game is pretty disappointing because it's such a huge part of Silent Hill. I really hope there are moments in the game that bring fixed camera angles just like the original, but I don't know if that would be the case based on this interview. This is a perfect example of why I'm worried about them catering to more current expectations of modern gaming. You lose some of the charm you get with the originals. But there is one topic that I really like that they brought up. Lennart talks about how they're giving the player more freedom to explore the town of Silent Hill, rather than adding a lot of new locations. The interviewer explains in detail during this hands-on preview of the game, he experienced this intended vision of exploring closed buildings by smashing windows and wandering to back alley areas. Overall, I'm very happy about this because I can see that being a very fun experience, being able to immerse yourself farther into the town of Silent Hill. This interview was a good insight to what they have in store and helped to understand their motives behind the game. And to make things even better, the same day the story trailer came out and absolutely wowed fans. This trailer was a perfect love letter to Silent Hill fans, with it being almost exactly like the original trailer. Almost everything looks improved and fleshed out. The animation, sound design, voice acting, and combat all felt way better in this trailer. It captured the essence of Silent Hill 2, and certainly made fans less worried for this game. And to put the cherry on top, a couple months before this, there was a gameplay showcase that presented fans with a very clear look into what to expect from the game. Genuinely so glad that they released this to show the state of the game and to be transparent with the fans. Overall, the balance between old and new is done really well. I think the foggy atmosphere is the best we'll ever see in a Silent Hill game, and the music is absolutely what you would expect from a Silent Hill franchise. The voice acting has been improved, and the story is left untouched to keep the importance of the story intact. The enemies act differently and only attack you if you're close enough, allowing you to sneak past enemies. It's also great that there are tons of settings to adhere to people's different playstyles, being able to change difficulty settings of the enemies and puzzles, while also being able to turn off the HUDs to immerse yourself even farther. And that's not to mention a special 90s filter to really bring in the nostalgia. The only parts this game seems to lack in is the combat. It feels a little too much, and some of the character models lost their spark, so to speak. Like Maria being toned down, and in my opinion Eddie, which in the original felt like a normal guy that got treated very poorly by others and is lashing out. Whereas in this remake, he's made out to be this scary person and feels older than he should be. It just doesn't come off the same. But other than that, this game does a really great job at striking a balance between old and new. And I just can't wait to play and compare both games in great detail when it drops, going over the camera angles, the atmosphere, the buildings, the acting, and of course the gameplay. And if that sounds interesting to you, join the channel so you don't miss out. With that said, if you enjoyed this video and need more Devilish content, check out my Patreon where you get full access to monthly videos, music, and art. Or if that's not your style, join me in my adventure in ranking every single horror game subgenre. All that said, see you next time.